Hello, everyone. So I thought of 4 tips that I think might be helpful for this year based on the astrology. I think these tips are in particular really relevant for the first half of this year, with Jupiter moving through Aries and preparing us for this Pluto squaring the nodes. So here are my 4 tips for 2023. My first tip is to make commitments that you know you can achieve. So it's the new year. A lot of people make New Year's resolutions, and we know that in general, they don't go very far. And I was thinking that no one really thinks about their New Year's resolutions when July comes about. Usually we start thinking about, in the future, I'm going to make next year, I'll do this, right? And there's this very fascinating tendency to just be in the future. I'm going to make these changes later on. I'm going to do something. And it's because we tend to set ourselves up for disappointment. I think with Jupiter and Aries, where there is a great tendency to bite off more than we can chew. There's an immense amount of enthusiasm and drive and intuition and excitement simultaneous to there not really being a clear sense of where all of this is going. So it is easy to get ahead of ourselves. A wise way of working with this energy is to stay in motion, but to be honest with ourselves so that we're not going further than we really know we can go. I've been interested in intermittent fasting and just sort of researching the ketogenic diet. And something that I've done a couple times is just created a small window of time, like a week, to practice one particular way of eating, right? So it's just a week. If it's hard or if there are temptations or challenges, I tell myself it's just a week. This doesn't have to be my long-term plan. And then this allows me to learn something from it, to try it, to give it a full, wholehearted effort, and then to reassess. So creating manageable goals. I was talking to Michelle about this, and I don't remember what she said. It was something like micro-dosing your, ambitions. Micro-dosing, right? Don't go full on. It's more likely than not that the enthusiasm that we feel to start something, it's a well-founded enthusiasm. But as per the nature of Aries, we don't know yet what it's like to follow through and to do this and to see it through and how to live our lives in these ways. So whatever enthusiasm is alive, it's great to meet that with just some thoughtfulness. That way we can sustain something long-term by really learning slowly and gradually where it is we want to go, what it is we really want to do. Okay. So my second tip for 2023, practice nipping future happiness in the bud as soon as it arises. I actually thought it was in the butt, but my gardener friend told me that it's actually nipping it in the bud, which makes a lot of sense. So as I was saying, we tend to put off a lot of our healthy changes for the future. And this often will come in 2 forms. When this happens, right? When this day comes, or when I find my partner, when I lose weight, when I whatever, then I'll be happy. Or the other form is when this thing is over, when I'm done with this, when this phase of my life is complete, or when I no longer have to do this, then I'll finally be happy. I can look back as far as I can remember, even as a child, and see myself do, even in school. It's like, if I can just get done with this, it's like my whole life would be consumed with whatever was important to me in the moment. And if I can feel like, if I can just get beyond this, then I'll be happy. Now, inevitably, there's always something that arises. And future happiness never happens because the future never happened. It's always going to be not here. So happiness has to be now. And it's a subconscious way of actually keeping ourselves from a greater courage and permission to be happy now, to look at our life and what we're living and what we're doing and what we really want. Sometimes that's scary because I think taking that level of self-responsibility for our own happiness means not being content with things that don't feel great. It means facing the courage to make changes, to ask for more, or to do something scary. And this leads to my third tip for 2023. Be willing to be spontaneous. Practice inspired spontaneous action. And this can be scary. This requires some courage. It means being unplanned. It means not thinking about it. I once heard a teaching from Amma, which was, you should meditate the moment the impulse to meditate arises. And I was thinking, it's so easy for me to have an impulse. Like I want to, there's this book I wanted to buy, and I've thought of it many times, and I just basically said, oh, I'll do that later. Or, it's my work time, and I really feel this energy to work on a certain project now, but then I tell myself, oh, I got to do these other things. So there's something incredibly valuable and healing and freeing in really doing what the moment calls for now, when that's possible, within reason, of course. And this engenders a life where we can actually feel more excited about the present moment and become more and more aware that we might have a tendency to cover the present moment with a lot of ideas of what we should be doing and how things should go. And we just get to remind ourselves that we are more free than we realize. And this engenders a path where we learn to see our life as free. We learn to feel that our life is free, is joyful, that we have a lot of creative space and potential. During this year, with really powerful catalyzing transits, 2023 bringing Pluto square in the nodes, there is a need to really be moving a lot of our creative energy. What we are repressing will manifest as shadow. And it will often manifest as feeling like we need something more, right? Like there's something that I'm missing. There's something that I need from the world, but really we're not allowing ourselves to fully give what is inside, right? To want what we want, to pursue, to live and resonate with our creative impulses in the moment. So it's deeply fulfilling and nourishing, brings a lot of peace and stillness and psychic clarity to practice living more spontaneously in the moment. The next tip is allow yourself to get really into something. This doesn't have to be a commitment. This can be just you're interested in something, embrace it, right? Like for me, when I'm washing the dishes, what am I doing with my mind while I'm washing the dishes? Well, there are a lot of things that I'm really interested in. I've been listening to a lot of different talks on intermittent fasting and health, and also A Course in Miracles and different spiritual teachings and particular inquiries that are alive. I think the things that we're drawn to, whether it's money or health or relationship or spirituality, they're all connected. It's all really the same. It's all this present moment edge of where our growth is. And there's meaning in it. There's value. There's something that we're uncovering and learning about in these curiosities, in these inquiries. Allowing ourselves to be interested, allowing ourselves to be curious, and even more so to engage in it. Like, oh, what's my question? What am I really curious about? What's my inquiry? And when we take that into like the crevices of our spiritual life and our practice and every dimension of our human existence, right? Like the places where our deeper work is, and we get more and more curious, it brings us into alignment with the resources, with the conversations, with the teachers, and the opportunities that come to meet us there. So I think there's a lot of value in just allowing ourselves to feel engaged with what's really calling our attention right now. Lastly, tip number 5 is break the rules. It's helpful to recognize that for the most part, we are the ones that decide what is and what isn't, what should or what shouldn't be. What are the parameters that we should or should not be living by? And then we fall into line with it. We don't recognize the extent of our agency, the extent of our freedom. And so I decided that this teaching would be 4 tips for 2023, but it's 5. Breaking the rules in ways that are not harmful, doesn't hurt yourself or others, reminds us to laugh at ourselves, reminds us to take ourselves more lightly, to be open to new possibilities, to be open to consider what we thought was so solid and crystallized, and to think again, to consider something else. I have a new class that is available for purchase on my website. This is on the topic of planets that square the nodes of the moon. This again is a very important theme in 2023. You can check it out in the description below. I offered this talk last year, and it's entirely based on the teachings of Jeffrey Wolf Green on this topic. Being that Pluto will be squaring the nodes this year, I think this is a very helpful topic for us to study for those that are drawn to go deeper into these teachings. And once again, we have 2 training programs coming up. full year training program, and the practice course for students that are already practiced in this work. Check it all out in the description below, and thank you for watching.